Welcome, Middlers, to the Medium in the Middle podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I take you on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual exploration. I am a Reiki master teacher, a spiritual and business mentor, and of course, a psychic medium. And I am here to share my story and help you tap into your extraordinary abilities. Join me every Wednesday as we dive into the realms of intuition, energy healing, and all things mystical. Whether you're a seasoned spiritual seeker or just dipping your toes into the magical waters, this podcast is your go-to source for inspiration, guidance, and a whole lot of lessons and laughter along the way. Let's get started. Hello, Middlers. Welcome to episode 207. My name is Stephanie. I am the medium in the middle. How are you? It is the end of February. I can't believe it. I'm going to Mexico in 10 days. I'm very excited for a little rest and relaxation. So there will be a podcast episode next week, but no podcast episode the week after that. I will be on a beach, getting some sun, and then we'll be back to regular scheduled programming. This week, I was kind of humming and hawing about what to do. There's so many good episodes on my episode list, but I think I want to do a Q&A. I put a question box up on my Instagram a few weeks ago, and I got a lot of good questions, so I like to do Q&As once in a while just to gauge what you guys are thinking. What do you guys want to know? What is the audience interested in? So I'm going to answer some of those questions here on the podcast. But we'll start off with announcements. I actually don't think I have much for you this week. If you are interested in the monthly mediumship circle, there is one coming up in March and April. The March is over half sold out, so I just recommend saving your spot. I do cap it to a limited number of people just so that everyone can still ask questions and participate. I don't want the group to be too big. There are Reiki level 1s and Reiki level 2s coming for April. The March ones are almost sold out. They have 1 or 2 spots left. So as soon as those are full, I will be releasing the April dates. But I think that's all I have for you this week. As usual, I did the card pull over on Instagram, and you voted for the Enchanted Map Deck by Colette Baron Reed. Just a reminder that I only have one Instagram at Medium in the Middle. I will never DM you. I will never ask you for money. I will never tell you that you want a reading. Just beware of scammers. The internet is a crazy, crazy place. But you chose this deck, and I pulled card 48, the Wishing Well. And I'm going to read this upright and in reverse. Desire is the sacred impulse for life. Feel it, but let go of all attachment to ownership. Desire is the most important impulse for creating life. Now you're seeing the relationship between desire and inspiration, and you're sensing that moment of truth when you feel the inception of new life. It is an aha moment when everything makes sense. Perhaps you recognize a soulmate or are conceiving a baby or an idea. The Wishing Well card awakens you to the presence of an unforeseen force that enables new beginnings. Divine intelligence activates the field of possibilities where new life is co-created in a magical way. Neither you nor anyone else can know how or why this happens, it just does. To that end, you can't control the process of growth. Rather, you must step aside to be a channel for higher forces and relinquish any attachment to how this new creation should appear or when. Form your intention and take action by dropping the coin into the wishing well, then trusting spirit. Prepare to be amazed. And then reversed. This is not the time to force anything to happen in your life, especially whatever seems to be eluding you. You can't demand that the universe provide you with what you want. Unmet desires can burst into a destructive fire of obsession. Step back, breathe, and take your attention away from what you want. Ask instead for what you need. Only the unseen knows how to align desire, inspiration, and its manifest form. As the coin disappears into the mystery of the dark pool at the bottom of the well, have faith. Don't engage in wishful thinking. You must co-create with spirit, not make demands. You may yet get what you want. Never forget that life is filled with choices. Make a wish, but be open to the enchanted way in which spirit fulfills your desires. The wishing well. I kind of see this as like releasing control. That's what I got from that. Seeing what is born, seeing what comes to be. Interesting. Okay, that's our card this week. Okay, so for this Q&A, I put a little question box up on Instagram and I said, ask me a question. And I got a lot of good questions, so I saved them to share on a podcast because I always love to like test the waters and ask, what are you guys interested in knowing? Because it's always interesting to see the questions that get put in. So I'm going to go through them. They're kind of all over the map. And I'm just going to go literally in order that they are on my phone. So this is actually a really good question. And it's from someone who is a Reiki master and being called to be more of service. And they were wanting to know if I will ever offer reattunements. So this is for anyone who is thinking that they need to be reattuned. You do not need to be reattuned. Once you have your attunements, you are open. The attunements are not the problem. What I do highly recommend is that you review your content, you start practicing, you start using the energy, you go back to your booklet, you talk to your Reiki master, you do the work. An attunement isn't going to skip you practicing or doing the work. You need to get back on the groove. You can buy a new bike, but you still have to get on the bike if you're going to learn how to bike ride. And I promise you, the bike you have now is perfectly fine. So you don't need another attunement. You just need to get on the bike. Just like a tattoo. Once you have a tattoo, it's there. Yes, you can get a touch-up on a tattoo. Ignore that. You don't need a touch-up on your attunements. So if you are thinking that you want to get reattuned, just start working with the energy again. You can always take a course. You just don't have to. You'd be relearning. If you took something 20 years ago and you forget everything, okay, take the course again to relearn, but you just don't need the attunements. Once you're attuned, you're opened. And you don't need to be reopened again, but you do need to work with the energy. So that would be my recommendation. Start working with the energy. Start practicing. Somebody asked, how long after you took Reiki did you start seeing and hearing spirit? I know I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I don't expect everyone to remember or have listened to all 206 episodes. So I would say I took Reiki level 1 and weird things started. And then I took Reiki level 2 and it like really got heightened. I would say in the first 1 to 3 months is when it all started. Another question, do I have a library of symbols that I use when I communicate with spirit? No, I like things easy and fast. So I just like spirit to just tell me things. Don't tell me that a red rose means this and a white rose means this and an orange rose means this. No. If you pass suddenly, tell me you pass suddenly. If you were a chatty person, tell me you're a chatty person. I just don't want to overcomplicate anything. So I don't have any big symbols for things, but I do find that everyone's a little bit different. So if you prefer to work that way, you can. I just don't prefer that way. Ooh, another good question. My grandma has Alzheimer's. How does consent work for Reiki if she doesn't understand? So this would work for anybody who doesn't understand consent or isn't able to consent. I would ask yourself a few questions. Would this person want it? Is your grandma into Reiki? Would she like the support? Do you think she would want it? Is there a way that you can tell her what you're doing or ask to consent to touch her still? Or you're like, hey, grandma, I'm going to do something that's going to help you. I'm going to be touching your head. If you don't want me to touch your head, can you wiggle your toes, blink your eyes, something? But it is always for the highest good. So as long as you think they would want it. If they wouldn't want it in their right mind, or when they could communicate, then we just can't force it against anyone. Like if someone's not into this, if they're like, ooh, no. But if you were able to somehow get consent around touching them and just letting them know that you want to help them, I think that would be consent enough. Someone asked what my favorite podcast episode is, and I don't know. I don't even know if I could answer that. I do talk about the podcast episode Josh a lot. That's definitely one that sticks out in my mind just because it's been one of the earlier stories. But I don't know if I have a favorite episode. Ooh, this is a good question. How do you deal with people who believe that what you are doing is evil? So I personally have never come across this. I've definitely had people who don't believe me. Actually, no, that's a lie. I have had a few of my religious family members tell me that I'm working with the devil. So my perspective is, and I don't mean this in a harsh way, I don't care what you think. So if you believe that I'm working with the devil or that it's evil, you're probably not someone I'm hanging out with. You're probably not in my inner circle. You're probably not someone that I'm aligned with. So you're probably not someone that I'm hanging out with. So if I'm not hanging out with you and you're not in my life, then I don't deal with you. If this was someone in my life who wanted to voice these opinions to me, they probably would not be in my life for much longer if they were constantly telling me something like that. But I don't care. Everyone has their own thoughts, opinions. You can think whatever you want, but that doesn't mean that we have to be friends or hang out or that I have to convince you or tell you otherwise. The only thing I would say is just watch your energy. You do not have to convince them. You do not have to prove to them. In my opinion, it's their loss. So, yeah, how do you deal with them? You don't. Minimize contact. Don't communicate with people like that. Yeah, you don't have to prove anything to anyone. So I feel like that's an energy leak. Someone's like, I don't believe in what you do. I'm like, okay, so how's the weather? I don't need to fight you. I don't need to go and have a deep conversation with you. I don't need to try to change your mind. Just don't think that's my job. So I actually got a lot of feedback on this question, so I am going to share it on the podcast, even though it's kind of out of left field. You guys know I do CrossFit 5 times a week. I do yoga 4 times a week. So this question is about that. How do you start an exercise habit and stick with it? I have so much to say about this. Number 1, I recommend that you find something that you like. In this day and age, there are so many things. You will like something. F45, CrossFit, yoga, running, Pilates, spin class, boxing, whatever it is, find the thing that you like. My number 2 is I highly recommend joining a class. And I know they're usually more expensive, but again, if you go enough, it makes it worth it. So I go to CrossFit 5 times a week. So my pass is $170. So that makes every class $8.50. So when you view it like that, what else can I do for $8.50 for an hour? And it also forces me to go because every class that I miss is making the other classes more expensive. So all I have to do is have enough energy to get my bum in the door. As soon as I'm in the door, someone's yelling at me and counting for me and telling me what to do the whole time. So I say 2 things. Number 1, find something that you like. There's free trials to everything. So do a free trial to literally everything until you find the thing you like or can tolerate or don't mind or you have a friend going. And then book the classes. And even if the price tag is scary, $8.50 a day for your health, for your mental health, for your well-being, for your body, for a workout. I don't buy coffee, but I don't buy coffee. I go to the gym. I know it's not, a coffee's maybe $5, $6. So for $2 more, find $8 a day, get to a class. That's what I would say. Okay, next question. Has Spirit ever come through in your Reiki trainings for your students? This is a good question. And yes, they have. I do set pretty strong boundaries when I'm teaching. I say I'm teaching. I Reiki my walls. I put up my boundaries. I tell them. But Spirit is very sneaky and they will do certain things or they'll get me to say certain examples. Or sometimes I'm just like, someone's dad is here. And actually the lady who I am doing her Reiki Masters for this year, her daughter came in almost all her trainings. I found dimes around my home, or I said something that she's like, that's my daughter. So it definitely does happen. I usually very much try not to let it happen. I don't want to turn my Reiki trainings into readings. But yes, spirit does sometimes sneak in when I'm teaching. So it happens, but not often. What am I most excited for in 2024? I'm doing a lot of travel this year, so I'm very excited for that. One of my Aussie students asked, would I ever come visit Australia? Absolutely. It is on my bucket list of places to go. I've wanted to go to Australia for the past 10 years, so I will make it there. I have a very good friend moving back to Australia, so I think when she moves back home, we will probably go visit her. This person asks, I'm learning how to manifest. How do you not have a hard day and negative thoughts sometimes? That's a very good question. And it's not that you don't have negative or hard days, it's that you don't want to sit in them. So just being really aware of how you're feeling and then trying to get out of that. So if I'm having a bad day, I usually give myself a timeline. I'm like, okay, Steph, you can pout till 8 p.m. and then get over it. Or, okay, you can be in a grumpy mood until after the gym, then get over it. So I kind of give myself a time to release the feelings, feel the feels, feel how I feel. And then it's like, you have to move on. You're not allowed to sit in this for days and days and days. So finding things that bring you to a more positive mindset, but just know that it's a journey. You're not always full steam ahead. Sometimes you're paused, sometimes you're reversing, sometimes a lot of different things are happening, and it's okay. We're only human. So yeah, just keep going. Get back on track as soon as you can and try not to sit in it. So I like to give myself a timeline. It's usually no longer than 3 hours, if that's really bad. And that kind of leads into the next question of, does having a bad day or two ruin manifestations? And again, the answer is no. Don't worry. You're not going to completely derail yourself. Will you be manifesting on those few bad days? Probably not. But can you kick yourself back into gear? Yes. So we are human. Everything ebbs and flows. You're not always running at 100%. You're not always going to feel the most abundant. You're not going to be manifesting everything every single day, all day from morning till night. So just know that those things are normal. Again, take a pause, take a rest, do what you got to do, and then keep moving. But it's okay. Next good question. When clearing and grounding, do you focus on any particular chakras? So you would want to focus on the lower chakras, remembering that your root is like your drain and you want everything to go down to your drain. So you are kind of clearing and emptying in that direction. So I would recommend that you focus on your root chakra. Have I ever used a pendulum and has it ever been wrong or off? The answer is yes and yes. So pendulums are very much affected just like your sway test. If you think yes, 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 it'll sway yes. If you think no, 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 it will sway no. Same thing with the type of questions that you ask. Are you asking yes or no questions? Are you asking future predictive questions? Are you asking about somebody else? So there's a lot of things that you have to kind of think about when using a pendulum. I now mostly sway test. I only pick up my pendulum in courses to show it, but I just sway test or muscle test in some way. It's way faster. I don't have to pick up a pendulum. I don't have to carry it around with me in my pocket. But I do have a pendulum course on my website. It's only $33 Canadian. So I go in detail about how to use it, how to make sure it's accurate. And it's just a good 1 hour class to get you up to speed with your pendulum because they are a great tool. But I do find eventually you won't need it because your sway test will kind of take it over. What is the most unique experience I've ever had while performing attunements? So this is very interesting. It really made me think this question because Archie does weird things when I'm doing attunements, my dog, Archie. But I've been obviously hot or cold. A few weird ones where I definitely feel people's spirits come in. So parents, grandparents, loved ones, it feels like they kind of come into the room. I have had a breeze on my ankle, a cold breeze on my ankle, only when I was doing the attunements, which was very weird. That was a freaky one. And actually, when I was doing a master's attunement, Dr. Usui kind of like scolded me for not showing his photos in my Reiki trainings. And I didn't show his photos for a long time. And then ever since that one master's training, I've downloaded photos of him, Dr. Hayashi, Madame Takada, and I show them in every training now. And if I forget, I like hear like a voice being like, show the photos, show the photos. So ever since I got yelled at during a master's attunement to show their photos, I show their photos. What are some good tips on how to get clients? I have a whole episode called Throw Your Seeds where I talk in detail about this. There's a lot of good tips, but I would say make sure you're not hiding under a rock. I think I have an episode called that too. Throw your seeds, tell everyone and everyone. And it's all about marketing, right? So how are people finding out about you? My biggest tip is you should be able to tell me 10 ways that people can find you. And once you have 10 ways, tell me 20 ways. And once you have 20 ways, tell me 30 ways. So there should be a laundry list of ways that people could find you, not just word of mouth, Instagram. That's not enough. If you're not paying for ads, how are people finding you? That's my mini TED Talk on that. So this kind of goes back to another question that was asked about how do I talk about my work to non-believers? Is it hard to talk about? And again, my stance on this is I don't talk about that to non-believers. If I am not interested in basketball, I don't want to sit here and talk about basketball. So if you're not interested in what I do, I'm not going to bore you with what I do. I'm not going to try to convince you that it's great. I don't care about basketball. You can't tell me anything that would make me care about basketball and the points and the system and how it works and what this line mean and what that player's name is. I don't care. So I feel the same with what I do. If someone's interested and they like want to have a nice conversation, if I'm like, ooh, tell me about basketball, I'm so interested, never want to play it, I think it's a bad game, but tell me about it. That's different than like non-believers who you're trying to convince. Again, it's an energy output. I don't try to convince anyone. I don't try to like fight hard for anything. I am not here to change your mind. If you don't believe it, it's just like you saying to me, I don't like basketball. Cool. Doesn't affect me. Doesn't bother me. It only affects you because you don't believe. And again, I feel bad for those people. So I don't engage is what I would say. And I definitely don't waste my energy. Okay, just a few more questions. I love questions. What pushed you to do Reiki? How has it helped shape you and your business? Oh, good question. I've answered this on the podcast way back. But what pushed me to do Reiki was I was working at Lululemon and I was the community lead. So it was my job to do community stuff. And there was this woman who made malas, Purple Lotus. Shout out to you. Her name was Kim. And she would come in and sell malas and jewelry and bracelets. And she was like the coolest person ever. She like dressed cool. She was cool. She was just one of those people. I'm like, you're so cool. So she was this cool person that I brought into the store and she would do these things and we would chat. And she told me she was a Reiki master. And I was like, I want to be a Reiki master. I don't even know what that is, but cool Kim does it. And I want to do it. So we started chatting and then I literally took a course because she talked about Reiki to me and I was super interested in it. And the rest is history. It's literally shaped my entire being of who I am and built my entire business. That course changed my life. Level 1 will change your life, but level 1 and 2 changed my life. I wouldn't be here where I was. I wouldn't be doing my business. I wouldn't be medium in the middle. I wouldn't know I was a medium. Like it was everything. So shout out to Kim for being cool. If you ever need crystals, she has a crystal store. She's Canadian. She's amazing. We did a collab once together. So Purple Lotus at Purple Lotus _love. This isn't an ad. She's just the reason why Medium in the Middle is here. She does amazing stuff. So if you need crystals, Canadian lady, she's amazing. What is my favorite part of my spiritual journey? Oh, so I think that I'm always learning and it feels like I'm a forever student. And when you get good at something, you're like, ooh, good, but like now what? So I think two parts, the always learning part and the like seeing my growth part. Because seeing where I came from, I was like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was lost. I didn't know what intuition was. I didn't know what manifesting was. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. I didn't know how to listen to my intuition. I didn't know how to listen to the universe. I didn't know how to learn my lessons. I didn't even know what lessons were. I didn't know when you got smacked in the face what to do. Like I was just, I didn't feel lost. But looking back on it, it was like, Steph, look at your life and the things that happened. So I think now it's like fun. I always say I want things to be fun and easy, but I do, especially in spirituality. So, yeah, that's a really good question. Okay, 2 more questions, a fun one and then a serious one. Would I do a group mediumship event again? Yes, easy answer. I love group. I love podium work. I love group mediumship. I would do group over one-on-ones, I think. I just love group readings so much. And that question definitely like popped it in my mind of, do I want to do group again? Because doing like 1 or 2 group readings a year here and there would be fun. TBD. Stay tuned for what Medium in the Middle launches in 2024. It's only February. I was going to say March, but it's not even March yet. So still lots of time to throw in some group readings. And then the last question that I got, which I received a lot of feedback on, people really liked my answer, was I got asked, do demons exist? So I'm going to read you what I wrote out for this answer on Instagram. In my opinion, no. In order to communicate with spirits, you have to run at a very high vibration. The things you are communicating with also have to run at a very high vibration. Anything negative does not exist in the space that I work. We hold such a high vibration it can't reach us. Do I believe in good and evil? Yes. Do I talk to anything evil? No. Why would I? But remember, whatever you believe is true. If you believe there are, you're right. If you believe there are not, you are right. And whatever you believe, you will find evidence for. I can say that I've never had a bad experience with spirit in over 6 years, and I always feel safe. And I have never felt anything evil or bad or demonic. So I wanted to share that because I think it's a common misconception around good and evil, what we're connecting with, what we're opening up about. And I really took the time to put my thoughts into that answer to be concise of, do I believe there's bad things in the world? Yes, obviously, I'm not naive. Do I waste my time with them in the waking world? No. Do I waste my time with that in the spirit world? No. It's literally a level of vibrating so high that there's no access. If you think about like bottom feeders in the ocean and you're swimming on top, nothing that's a bottom feeder is going to reach your toes. You're safe. You're in an ocean. So that's how I think about it. If you want to sink down to the ocean and go all the way down to the bottom, could you reach a bottom feeder? Yeah, but you're doing that on purpose and with a lot of intent. So I always feel safe. I always feel good with spirit. It's always for the highest good. I always work out of the highest good. And if it's not out of the highest good, it doesn't work. It doesn't happen. So don't worry about those things. So I just wanted to share that fun Q&A on the podcast. I love doing Q&As on Instagram. If you're not already following me at Medium in the Middle, go over there and give me a follow. I only have 1 account. Beware of all the scam accounts. I post stories every single day. So if the account doesn't have stories, it's not me. If it looks fake, it's not me. And on the top of my real account, I literally say beware of scammers. So if the scam account doesn't have that, it's not me. I'll leave it linked down below so that you can easily click to it. I'll leave all the links for Reiki trainings, level 1, level 2, down below. I will also leave the links for the mediumship practice circle. Those are happening monthly until you don't want them anymore. When people stop signing up, I'll stop running them. If you haven't already, I would love and appreciate a rating and a review wherever you are listening to this podcast. I release new episodes every Wednesday. But until next Wednesday, Middlers, when I see you in your ears, I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye, everybody.